Initially, we came to Thrive because we had just gotten married and we were trying to find a church that we liked together. We'd been to a few in the area that were nice, but they just didn't quite click.
Vibe,
and I used to work nights, and I had forgotten that it was Saturday night and we needed to figure out where we were going to church on Sunday. And so I texted Hugo and I said, hey, like, just find a church. Any church. I don't care what church. Normally I'm really picky, but I was like, just church. Just find a church. We'll go to it. We'll pay more attention next weekend. But like for now, I just want to go to church. So I get home late at night and he tells me that he found a Lutheran church. And I was like,
No. I said a church.
Well, yeah.
And I did say, now it is Lutheran, but it seems to be okay. It has a cool like website. So it's not like old-fashioned per se Lutheran. So I'm like, it might be cool. We'll see.
To be fair, he didn't know what Lutheran was to begin with.
That's true.
I grew up a pastor's kid, and so like I know.
Not Lutheran, by the way.
No, yeah, and like I know like my theology and like my different like, you know, whatever. And so I was like, oh, I am not Lutheran. I'm not going to that church.
And then we did.
But it was still late at night, yeah. So we were like, well, okay, whatever. And I was like, it's fine. Like we're just gonna go out this one time. And then we're never going back there ever again.
She was like, oh man, I can't believe we went there.
Yeah, I was just like, gosh, like that's
so funny.
Not for me. Yeah. And like right afterwards, I went and I talked to Pastor, and I was just like, hey, is this like for sure what you guys believe? And he was like, yeah, like that's absolutely what we believe. And I was like, okay, cool, great. Like confirmation, this is
like,
not
not happening.
Yeah. And then I feel like the rest kind of goes to you, Hugo.
Okay, well, so we then. Like we were just talking with John to talk about maybe the theology, because again I was like, okay, this is Lutheran. I don't know what Lutheran is, so I'll have a look. I've been to too many denominations to count. So then we were like, okay, and then he was like, oh, you're looking for maybe like this or something like that. That was our original intention. And he was like, maybe you should go to this particular church. It was a little more in my particular background. There's a lot to explain there, but just my particular background. And we went there, and I thought it was like, okay, yeah, this is very similar to what what I'm used to anyway. And we were like, yeah, we'll give it a try. Obviously, wanting to make sure that you were comfortable with that as well. And you're like, it's okay, but what was the biggest problem that we had with that?
We didn't click. We tried really, really hard to make connections with people, and it felt like pulling teeth. Like the sermons were great, but that was just like, that's what it was. And then COVID hit, and then in church was online. And I distinctly remember telling Hugo, I was like, okay, listen, don't hold this against me. Don't
Which
make
I
fun
totally
of me.
do.
Yeah, I was like, listen, like I'm coming to you as your wife, just head down. Like, listen, I love you, I trust you, but I was like, do you remember that church that I said I didn't want to go to ever again?
To which I'm like,
yeah.
Yes, continue.
Yeah. And I was like, listen, like I'm not saying I want to go there, but I am saying that I really loved their worship team. And I was like, I really feel like they're passionate about worship. Like they're not just standing up there to sing because that's what you do at church. Like, they loved it and they were happy, and like you could see that it was authentic. Like you could see that they really, really, really loved worshiping the Lord. And I was like, listen, like regardless of our different beliefs, like that's a priority for me. And I was like, I just feel dead inside. And like I was like, I just want to worship. And like that was my priority. So we went back here. To find out, like, okay, like, listen, we're just gonna worship.
Just like,
and then we're not gonna come back. And then, of course,
we never left.
Yeah, and then we never left. We got caught up talking to lots of people here. We just instantly made connections.
Which is funny that, like, there's still, we have, like, the snowbirds that come in and all that kind of stuff, but it's funny that, well, first of all, it's like one of the biggest things that we had, that was a little bit like, maybe not this church or the old one, was that there were a lot of people that were like a little bit too old or a little bit too young for us, or just not on the right path, like the life, right life stage, so to say.
Yeah.
And here, it doesn't really matter. Like
No.
we have like our church grandma, you know who you are, who is like, you know, has had kids and all that kind of stuff. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. And I think she's an actual grandma now, so she's like way, like, you know, in a much different life stage than us. Doesn't matter. She
No,
connects with us.
yeah.
She's wondering like, hey, how's it going? Who are you? That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Are you actually doing okay?
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of people like that here. It doesn't really matter. Like, they all just, if there's something different about being around like believers that are just like, it's just, Thrive feels like a family. And that's like the only way I know how to describe it. Like everyone's just so happy to be at church. Like that, like that makes such a huge difference to have everyone like just happy and like love to be around each other. Like not even like, it doesn't matter if we even aren't at church, but we're with our church family. Like it's just, there's so much community at Thrive, I feel like.
Which is funny because I know a lot of the Americans and actually just churches in general, honestly, are very much like be connected with like some sort of group, you know, like maybe we're talking about like home huddles or men's groups, women's groups, I don't know, children's groups, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? And I've never really subscribed to that particular methodology, just because it feels like, you know, I mean, I understand why it's a structural thing, but it was, you know, my parents, definitely from my background, they're definitely not that kind of person for a number of reasons. So I was like, you know, whatever. But I can tell here, though, that they're saying, look, we suggest to be part of, you know, small groups or whatever for the reason that we want you to feel like you are a part of it. You know, like this is a big family, in your words, and it's a lot of people, you know, and it's sometimes better to kind of divide and conquer, so to say, so that you can have a little bit more room and space for the people that are actually there.
Yeah.
You know, like the individuals.
So you can grow together.
Grow, but also like they actually mean it. It's not like a
Yeah.
structural thing, like, oh, we want to have you in there just so, you know, it's a structure, but like we want you to be there so that you can, because we want you to be able to experience, you know, the fellowship of Christ.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I
So-
feel you. And another thing I wanted to clarify too. Obviously, I did not start off Lutheran when I came here, but obviously our pastor knew that, and he made time intentionally to come talk with us and to discuss theology. And honestly, I was a bit embarrassed because he made points like through the Bible where he was like, hey, like there's like 10 spots in the Bible where it says this. So like,
Remember that.
are you sure that's what you think? And I was like, uh-oh, I think I'm wrong. And it's like,
I remember that, yeah.
and it wasn't in a mean way. Like he was not at all like holding it over me like, oh, like clearly you're wrong. He was just like, yeah, like, I mean, like, that's just what the Bible says. Like, you know, and he let the Bible speak for itself, which means a lot to me because I feel like I've been to other churches where they like yell about like the Bible, and I'm like, that's
Literally.
not like that's not helping me. Like, you make me feel like a terrible person, and I have anxiety now. And like the Bible speaks for itself. Like you don't need someone to yell about it. And it's nice that Pastor was just like, hey, like, this is the Bible. This is what it says. Like, it would probably be best if you follow what the Bible
so like,
says.
well, you know, like I have my own opinion, which is, I think, also nice in the sense that he's also, in a sense, human. Like I want to, like, you know, I don't want to necessarily praise one particular person, right? I've never ascribed to that theology. But since he is the pastor and he is like a representative, or at least the human one, it is nice also to hear from him that he is human. I think that's a good example, you know, where it's like, you know, he gives a bunch of like, you know, stories and things like that. I think Carl does that a little bit more, just for the reason that that's his style. But it doesn't mean that John doesn't. And he also does it, he connects with other ways to say that he actually is human, and it's not about him by, you know, inviting people over for dinner and all that kind of stuff. We're just, I don't know, playing some, what was it again? it's Jackbox Party something something. They always make fun of me on that. I'm like, oh come on, people. But it's human, you know, and that it's not about a person or an ideology or works or faith. Like not like, oh, I have more faith in it. It's about Jesus and Him alone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I agree.
So-
And should we talk about giving?
Giving?
Yeah. Yeah. Just.
Well, yes, we would like your bank account.
No, but you know, obviously we love our church so much, and if you are considering giving, we would love that. Honestly, it means a lot to us. Just
Yeah, it
for the
does.
main reason, like it's not that we want to be a huge, glorious church. Like
Well, we do.
no,
Let's
but I
be
mean,
honest.
like honestly, like I just want our church to just keep like growing and like in whatever way God wants, obviously, but like. I love our church. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I want it to stay around.
Can you tell?
Yeah, you know? Obviously, without support, like, a church isn't a church. I don't feel like there's no, like, you can't have a church without support.
Yeah, I would say, I would say that it's good to be, you know, to have financial backing and things like that. I will say that with support, we mean like no, like interaction with anything, because I will say, like, even without financial support and things like that, we are still a church, which is good.
Well, yeah,
Yeah. But like, put it this way, without support, we can't have all this.
exactly, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
And it's something I value.
Yeah, no,
Like,
absolutely.
I can't help it. Like, I love knowing that I'll be able to come here every Sunday and that I'll get to worship.
Yeah, yeah, it's, I don't know, the financial backing aspect of it is just the continuation of our service to Christ.
Yeah.
You know, and not that we get John's third private jet. Oh, we're still working on your first one? Oh, sorry. But like, it's not to, you know, that it goes into someone else's pocket or something like that. It's specifically to be like, okay, what are we using this for? Wisely and respectfully and intelligently divvying it up in a way that is most pleasing to the God that we serve. You know?